CHANG, and I will be presenting this semester's midterm take-home exam. To begin with, my presentation will be about a war between Russia and Ukraine and these two countries' economic indicator. In addition, I will compare Fed's quantitative easing and EU's economic sanctions. Each country's opinion during IMF, World Bank 2014 forum meetings in Washington. I will first introduce the background of the war between Russia and Ukraine, and then move on to analysis on Russia's Ukraine's economy, also comparison between Fed's financial strategy and EU's economic sanction, and lastly, summary of each country's opinion and IMF meeting will be discussed. War between Russia and Ukraine is usually referred to as East Ukraine War and was occurred quite lately. It was a regional conflict between pro-Russian Eastern Ukraine and pro-EU Western Ukraine, as well as a power game between Russia and Ukraine. Here is approximate information about Ukraine-Russia war. I arranged the information by 5 Ws and 1 H. Then why did Russia choose to have war particularly in eastern region of Ukraine? It can be easily answered through production function. Production function is a function that indicates the number of production, and this is times of production technology and F variable. There is a labor force, capital, human capital, and natural resources in F variable. This function has one characteristic and its constant returns to scale. This means if we double the input of factors of production, the output as well as is doubled. Therefore, we can come to a conclusion that in this function, if we divide all factors of production by labor, we can know how much per labor production is. This function is. And understanding through this per worker production function, increase in capital, human capital, and natural resources are indeed in order to raise productivity. Realistically, achieving increase in human resources and capital cannot be achieved in a short period of time. While natural resources can, war was needed by Russians. Therefore, Russia had decided to raise productivity in a short period of time in the form of warfare with Ukraine. Next, I will demonstrate how productivity could increase through production function. This production function shows productivity of less economically developed countries rises rapidly when the amount of natural resources increase, whereas developed countries do not experience that fast rise in productivity. This implies the more developed a country is, the less increased productivity. Russia expected to have a normal rate of increase since it is not highly developed. Therefore, Russia can benefit the most from acquiring natural resources. Moreover, we can suggest Russia chose war in order to achieve development of its economy. I will move on to Russia and Ukraine's economic indicator. If you look at figure of Ukraine's per capita GDP is $7,410 and 2% of economic growth and 0.4 point of CPI growth. They have foreign exchange holding of $188 billion. For Russia, their per capita GDP is $15,803 and 4% of economic growth and 6% of CPI growth and foreign exchange holding of $52 billion. We can infer their budget line. Next, I introduce two countries' budget lines. In case of Ukraine, its economic scale is smaller than of Russia, which makes their budget lesser. Thus, Y and X of budget line is lower than Russia's. They cannot invest more on military than Russia, even though they need to invest more. Furthermore, they have to invest on military because even without it, Russia has a high chance of taking over their land, so Ukraine's economy is devastated due to overwhelming expenditure on military, and that's the reason why the government and governor of Central Bank of Ukraine asked for emergent help from EBRD and IMF in this IMF4 meeting. The Russian case shows that this huge budget compared to Ukraine puts X and Y in a big number. And Russia has already been spending a lot of money on military. The figure is more than $70 billion. Therefore, the impact on war is not that huge to Russia, while Ukraine is still severely influenced by it. Because of war, Russia was sanctioned by international society, and this sanction shows similarity with Fed's tapering. I will explain this now. If we look at Fed's monetary policy, this policy aims to help job market in US to stabilize US economy. However, due to rise in money supply, asset bubble phenomenon may occur and value of money could decrease. In terms of sanction against Russia, since it is a sanction of international organizations like EU and UN, the power is very strong. Its power is strong in that the entire economic policies Russian implement is blocked by the sanction. This economic sanction also severely undermines Russia's currency, ruble. The common aspect of these two policies is that the value of currency is undermined. If the value of national currency is undermined, the ability of the currency's purchasing power is also undermined, leading to increase in price, further leading to decrease of consumption that can cause economic recession. Next, I have gathered countries' opinions on IMF4 meeting. I have categorized them into two groups, developed and developing countries. I will begin with developing countries. Mexico has argued that US monetary currency policies' negative influence on other countries' economy are immense. This proves the power of US dollars. China talked about depression of non-state-run enterprises caused by state-run enterprises. This is the problem of China's special feature of the economic system. China has a socialistic economic feature, and governmental intervention plays a bigger role in economy than capitalism, which empowers state-run enterprise more. Thailand has stated that developed countries' financial policies are a great help to developing countries. Also, Thailand has emphasized the importance of communication between developing and developed countries. This is because Thailand wishes to have stable economic growth. The country that grabbed by attention the most is Turkey, where it diminishes a country's trade balance. I analyzed this with 4 reasons. First of all, if war happens, many people have to participate in the war, which causes the decrease in human resources. In addition, due to destruction of economic infrastructures, economic life would not work and the relations between war participating countries would worsen. The last reason is because of sanctions from intergovernmental organizations. As I mentioned before, this is a groundbreaking method that influences the whole economy. Lastly, I will state opinions from developed countries. Canada put emphasis on relationship among members of IMF. It asserted countries with low economic growth require help from developed countries. I believe the most effective measure is aid. The reason is that if developed countries provide financing, the receiving countries will manage the money by itself. So building economic infrastructure is one of the most effective ways to raise productivity. In Swiss case, developing countries should get aid, but developed countries need to help them make plans for its own innovation in their economies. This is, in my opinion, the most ideal method of aiding one country. Thank you for listening to my presentation.